Alright, so today, doing a skull mount on Tyler's deer, his latest buck, and I've been doing this since college. No expert. Figured I would walk you guys through my step-by-step process, how I do it. I've looked at how people do it. There's a lot of different ways. They usually turn out pretty good. I may do things a little bit differently than other people. May do things people have never thought of. Who knows? Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get this boy skinned up and ready for the pot. Pot, bone saw just in case, knife, pressure washer. There's some other tools you can get if you don't have a pressure washer, but I like the pressure washer. Makes things easy. He's still frozen. Great. Just wasted some rubber gloves.
A few hours later.
Tyler got his head back from the processor. Thought I'd let it sit for a little while. It's been sitting for about 5 hours. It's not really that well thought out, but I'm still gonna give it a shot because I gotta work tomorrow, and I don't want a deer head slowly rotting in my backyard. So I'm gonna give this a shot. If it doesn't work, I'll just hang it up and see if I can get it to it tomorrow. Hopefully it doesn't stink, but if it does, it just is what it is. So because this deer skull has been frozen, it makes this process a lot harder. It's a lot better when you get this fresh. You get it done immediately. Just because you don't have these issues of a frozen head and thawing out and all that other stuff. Right now I'm getting up close to the esophagus and this thing has not thawed, so it's cutting all this extra stuff off, all the skin or all the fur. It's making it a much more difficult process. Alright, so got the skin off. It took me a lot longer than I've ever taken. Now I gotta get the neck off, and it's still a pain in the butt because it's still frozen. I got most of what I wanted off. It's a pain in the butt with a cold deer. So, like I said, if you're doing this, do it fresh. Make your life a lot easier. You don't want to put your deer skull in a boiling pot. It can damage the skull. So you want to boil the water and then get it to kind of a simmer. Set the skull in there, let it sit for an hour, check on it. I typically leave the bottom piece of the jaw on there, mostly because once the meat heats up and kind of cooks, I can pull that off and separate it. Usually it takes a good chunk of a meat with it. So some people don't do that. Some people will say to cut all the meat off that you can, clean it up the best you can, which I don't disagree with, but also with the fact that the skull is essentially still frozen. It's really the only option I have. But the jawbone I typically leave on, mostly because I can just pull it right off. The pot's boiling. As you can see the steam rising. So I'm gonna turn that steam down and I'm gonna put this skull in. Dish soap helps remove the oils from the skull. I'll put a little bit of that in there. So usually what I do is I'll let it boil, peel it, get everything off. Obviously we don't want it at a boil. We want it at a bit of a slower heat. So get this going, dish soap in with it. That helps remove oils and whatnot from the skull. It kind of leaches it from it. There's also, so we do this about 3 times, depending on how much I can get off each time. And with the second one, you want to put baking soda in with it. I found that just doing dish soap works just fine. I've done this before without dish soap, but I feel like dish soap helps kind of loosen everything up a little bit more. Makes this process a little less. I think that was an L. Makes it a little less difficult. So I'm just going to let this simmer for about an hour, and then I'm going to come out and check its progress. That's not going to work. And in the meantime, I'm also going to do some cleanup. I'm going to go ahead and turn this heat off, get my gloves on, pull it out, and we'll get started on the peeling of the skull, and I'll show you what it looks like when it comes out. So this is what the skull is going to look like upon coming out. Basically, what should happen, I should be able to pull this jaw right off. Alright, so got the deer skull in for round 2. Got the baking soda in there as well as dish soap. Again, this helps to strip the oils from the skull itself. And yeah, so it's been in there for probably about 30-ish minutes on a nice simmer. You're going to take it out in about 20 to 30 minutes and give it a spray down. So another set of tools that you could utilize, needle nose pliers. So I don't remember what these are called, but these are kind of like, sort of like surgical type pliers for that nose mess. And then a Phillips head works fine. I couldn't find my Phillips head, so I've got several of them, but a set of screwdriver to get into the ear socket to rip out. There's a little bone in there that's not necessary. It's really difficult to clean around, so just pop your screwdriver in there and lock it and pop it out. Usually comes out with relative ease. Screwdriver right here is this little ear hole right here. So I'm going to be putting my screwdriver in there, digging it in, and this should just kind of come out. Just like that. And now you got this flesh around here you can take out a lot more effectively. I'm going to be doing that to the other side. Now we can more effectively get in here in between these cracks and get it done. I still got to take this back portion off of the spine where it connects to the head. So I'm going to see if I can work on that. Set this to the side. There's that connective tissue. Now that's out of there. So now I can cut some of this flesh off. And more effectively clean that out as well. So next, use these snips. I'm going to get up in the nozzle area. Let's see if I can pull all this out. I got vast majority of it out. It's relatively clean in there. There's a few little bits and pieces that need to come out, but other than that, I mean, it's pretty good. I should be able to power wash that out of there. I'm gonna throw this in the pot again with some fresh water, so I gotta boil that, get it to a simmer, and then get the rest of this crap off. Also, these bones right here, they came off the front end of the nose, right? So they came off here. If that does happen, which it does happen about 50% of the time with a skull mount, if you're doing the boiling method, don't worry. They're easy to reattach, and really all you need is super glue. Super glue works just fine. If you want to use something else, go for it, but I like super glue because it's instantaneous. Yeah, you just want to clean these up as best you can, and then super glue them back on. They should slide right into place. Third set, all done. As you can see, it's cleaned up itself pretty well. Now all I gotta do is hit it while it's hot and see if I can get the remainder of this crap off. Just about done. Not quite finished. Still gotta do a few things to it. But aside from getting the extra bits of flesh off of it, all I gotta do is get this sucker dried off and also glue the front bits of the nose back on there. As promised, got the nose glued back on. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult, but it's not really, you're not gonna be able to notice if things are a little out of whack. Right now, Tyler wants to leave it as a natural look. Down the road, we may do a little something with this deer. But as for now, we're gonna just leave it with, you know, the stripped down version of itself. You have different techniques when it comes to staining your deer skull. So you have what they call bleaching, but you don't want to use bleach on your deer skull because bleach over time will corrode the skull. It's a hydrogen peroxide mix. You just paint it on there, you let it sit for a little while, take it off, repeat the process till the skull is as white as you want it to be. Then you have my preferred method, which is painting it. One, because it's more cost effective. As far as I know, it doesn't harm the skull in any form or fashion, and it takes way less time. You can also stain your deer skull as well. So yeah, you've got different techniques. You can look them up online, you know, how-tos. It's all over YouTube, all over Google. Pretty easy to find. But yeah, I'll show you some of the examples that we have. This is the deer that Tyler came upon last year, and we did a skull mount to it. Turned out pretty good. As you can see, it's pretty bright white. Everything's perfect. It's a little glossy, which is fine. As far as I know, you could get a matte finish and matte it out, make it look a little more neutral, more earth tone. Looks good, as you can see. And the skull is in good condition. Next up, we have this deer. Obviously, as you can see, the nose is gone. The nose was here. I've had this deer since I was 13. I found it in the woods. It's not one color. I did a plasti dip to it. So what I did was I got oil paint, which most spray paints are oil based. Bucket of water, sprayed. It's called marbling. So I sprayed various colors in and then mixed the colors in a pattern and then slowly dipped the deer skull into the water. You clear away everything before you bring it up and it comes out looking like this. So this is my deer from last year. I did the plasti dip for it. I didn't do a great job with the antlers covering them up, but all in all, I didn't really care too much. It's my deer. It's not someone else's deer. I'm not as worried about things being perfect. It's a pretty efficient way to get a coating on it and make it look the way you want. If you guys want to see that done, we can do another video of how I do that. All right, y'all, that's a wrap. We're done with this deer skull. Make sure to like and subscribe if you found this video at all informative. Share it. Now I'm gonna go hunt and see nothing. But Jeff, come here. No. Hey.